11th standard, subject statistics, lecture 2, where we are continue with the first chapter, and that is the collection of the data. In previous lecture we discussed about the data, quantitative data, qualitative data, primary data and secondary data, and the next part of it we are going to see now. There are three methods of the collection of primary data. If I want to collect primary data very first time, so for that I am having how many methods? Three methods. The number one is direct inquiry method, indirect inquiry method and questionnaire method. Where I have completed the direct inquiry method, you can see in the textbook. But indirect inquiry method and questionnaire method I am going to cover up. Let's see the meaning of indirect inquiry. The inquiry which is made by the enumerator indirectly or by taking the help of some other source or a person is called as indirect inquiry. This type of inquiry is useful when the field of inquiry is so wide, when the area of inquiry is so wide, that time it is used. Plus the data which are collected are large in number and complex by its nature. So in certain cases it is advisable to go for the indirect inquiry. For example, indirect inquiry, the students of 11th standards have already gone to the computer lab and the sir is teaching over there. Right now, if I want to know what my students are doing that time, what will I do? Instead of coming in the class directly, I will ask your computer teacher after your class that, sir, will you just tell me what the students of 11th standard were they doing their best in your computer practicals? And the sir has given me the reply. So the things what I have done with you, the example, is called as indirect inquiry, where instead of asking you directly, I asked to whom? The computer teacher, that what my class was doing in this period in the computer lab. So that was the example. Now let's see the advantages and disadvantages. Advantages means the benefits to have the indirect inquiry. The first one is, it is suitable when the field of inquiry is so wide. Right now I told you, when the field of inquiry is too wide, the area of the study is too wide, then it is advisable to go for which inquiry? Indirect inquiry. The second one is, the case of respondent is not willing to give. It may happen to whom I am asking the question, student, as enumerator, that respondent is not willing to give the answer. So in that case, advisable to go for indirect inquiry. Number third one is, it has less time period, less cost and less energy. जब हम ये इंक्वायरी करते हैं, we have less time, we can have the less cost and less energy can be utilized. Basically, this type of inquiry is done by the all different government departments, and this inquiry is suitable for the different government departments. And the disadvantages of indirect inquiry is, when the enumerator himself has the prejudices, biased attitude. It may happen that in my mind the prejudice is there, biased attitude I have, I am partial with someone and I am collecting the data for that purpose only, for my personal purpose. So here there is a disadvantage of having this indirect inquiry. The second point is the respondent. He is dishonest, he is insufficient, he is lazy by its mind, he is not ready to give the answer, he is inefficient, he is not capable. So when respondent is not ready to give the answer at all, so this type of cases, this indirect inquiry will not work. So now let's see the third one, and that is questionnaire. Questionnaire method. The third method for the collection of the primary data. The meaning. Questionnaire method is a method where there is a list of some questions which are arranged logically, which has the answers only in yes or no, and which are suitable to the title and fulfill the purpose of inquiry. So here the questionnaire is a tool of asking the questions which has the answer only in yes or no. I can say that questionnaire method. Here enumerator himself makes the questionnaire and asks to the respondents the different questions for which he is conducting the inquiry. So the characteristics of an ideal questionnaire. If students in future you may have to fill up the questionnaire, then how you are going to make and how you are going to write the answers. For that purpose there are certain instructions are there which I can say that it is an ideal questionnaire. The first one is the appropriate title. The questionnaire which I am making as a enumerator must contains the appropriate title. For example, if I am collecting the data of 11th commerce, so what would be the title of my questionnaire? The data of the inquiry of 11th commerce students. There I cannot write the science stream students. Number 2, the minimum questions. That should be the minimum questions where the respondent should be able to give the answer willingly. There should not be too many questions, 50 and 100. It should not be like that. Third point is consistent questions must be there with the purpose. The questions which I am going to ask should be consistent by its nature and it should solve the purpose for which I have made my questionnaire. The fourth point is it should be simple, very short and understandable to the respondent. The language should be very much clear and it is understandable to others. Fifth point is the answers of the question has to be in yes, no or definite word or a figure. It should be. For example, when I ask you what is your age, your answer would be 15 years, 16 years. So the answer was definite by its wording wise as well as number wise. Sixth point is dual meaning. Not a single question should be there which has the dual meaning or the meaning which cannot be understood by the other. The word should be common word. Seventh point is it should be arranged logically. First one the simple question and then after little bit hard and then after again harder. That way it should be arranged. Then you cannot ask the sensitive questions to the respondent or you cannot ask the personal questions, the questions which are related with the personal life of the respondent. So you cannot ask like this. The ninth point is it should be free from calculation. The question which you have asked where no calculation work is required, no calculation should be there. So when you will keep these points in your mind, you can have very nice and ideal questionnaire. Understood? Let's go for the second question. There are two ways of the collection of the information by questionnaire. Whatever I have understood and I make you to understand right now, that was the questionnaire which are made by me. But there are two methods for getting the information through questionnaire which is there in the textbook. That is by post and by enumerator. Now first we shall see the by post method. The word itself suggests where the service of post is considered. Here the information is dispatched by the enumerator to its customer or the respondent through the post, where one envelope is sent through the address of the enumerator and which has the postal stamp. This thing is called as the questionnaire by post. Here the enumerator is sending the questionnaire through the post service to the respondent. Understood? Now let's see the advantages. This type of questionnaire method, this type of method of collection of the information is useful when there is an area is too big, too large area, when the area is so vast for the collection of the inquiry. Number two is when there is a large information with less expenses. The information we can have the large, but with less expenses we can reach there. Third point is the remote areas. Those areas where sometimes we cannot contact the respondent, or when he is living very in a remote area, so far area, where we cannot reach personally. In such a way, this information is very much useful. Now, disadvantages of this method. Number one is, this method of questionnaire through the post is useless when your respondent is illiterate and he is not cooperative. Number two, the information itself is incomplete and blank. It may happen when the respondent does not fill it up. Third point is, it may be the delay in the information. The respondent may not give you the answer in time. And the fourth one is, it may be chances for misunderstanding the question by the respondent. So here I complete the questionnaire by post. Now we shall see the questionnaire by enumerator. We shall see the questionnaire by enumerator method. It means that myself, I made the questionnaire for you students. You are sitting in front of me and I am collecting the information from you. That method is called as the questionnaire method by enumerator method. Meaning, when enumerator himself contact the respondent, yani you student, and I will get the information or the response from you, is called as questionnaire by enumerator method. Advantages. The first one is, by doing this method, I will get as enumerator the complete, correct and more relevant information from you, because I am standing in front of you and you are giving me the response or you are writing the answers. Number 2, B, that is a proper response who are illiterate. If the respondent is illiterate, he cannot understand, then also he can give the proper response to me because I am standing in front of them as enumerator. Number 3 is more reliable. When the answers which I will get you from you, that would be more reliable and there will not be any loss of questionnaire. Disadvantages. Number first is, it is difficult to get the expert enumerator through this inquiry. Number B is, fees no enumerator. When I will get the fees, it may happen that the institutions may have to increase their total cost when they are paying more fees to the enumerator. Third point is, it is difficult to train the untrained enumerators. If enumerator himself is untrained, then to give them training, to get himself updated, it's very difficult task. And the D one is, not suitable when the respondent in wide areas. जब आपका जो respondent होता है, they are spread in the wide areas, then this method will not work. Understood? Now let's see the last question. The second last question is the sources of secondary data. Sources means from where, through which places, from where we can have the collection of the secondary data. The number one is the government publications. So here students, the central and state government organizations, their main work is to collect the secondary data. From there we can have the secondary data. For example, NSSO, which works as the National Sample Survey Organization, its main objective is to collect the data at national level. CSO, Central Statistical Organization, and ICAR means the Indian Council of Agricultural and Research. In the field of agriculture, this institution collects the secondary data. Second one is semi-government publications, see, and the State Electricity Board. Third point is of international publications, where ILO, International Labour Organization, IMF, International Monetary Fund, and United Nations Organization. Local self-government, the municipal corporations, then Jilla Panchayat, these are working at collection of secondary data. Sixth point is the publications of business and the commerce. And the last one is from the newspapers and periodicals, we can have the secondary data. And the last one is the precautions are taken while using the secondary data. What precautions will you take when you are using the secondary data, means which are already collected by someone and you are utilizing it. So here students, the last answer is when we collect or use the secondary data, the first precaution is we should know through which method it has been collected, who has collected, authorized company or private sector, and by which method it was collected, and what was the time period. If it is too long, then special care should be taken. If it is too short, then it would be latest. So there are certain things which should be kept in your mind when you use the secondary data. So here I complete this chapter. You can write all the question answers of the exercise. Thank you.